Okay. Hi, guys. I was like, am I on? Just rubbing my, just having some fun. But Joe put me on camera before I realized. But, hey, whatever. It is what it is. We're having fun. It is Thursday, February 22nd.
What a way to kick off a show.
2024. How are you doing, Joe?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. We are drinking some bourbon and we're having a good time. So we're rubbing our nipples.
Is that what you're doing?
I don't know what
you
I was
doing. Stimulation?
I think I was doing this, and then I saw myself on camera, and just to be an idiot, I did that as well. So, yeah. So,
we don't get to see this side of you very often, so it's cool that we get.
What does that mean?
What
does that mean? Am I all buttoned up all the time? If people that know me, well, they know I'm usually not too buttoned up. So yeah. I'm pretty.
Your audience doesn't get to see that.
That's true.
But we don't want to give them the wrong impression that you've got sexual repression, which makes you rub your nipples before the show goes on.
Maybe I'm just like walking down the fast food aisle and be like, oh, it's a little cold in here.
Maybe.
But today it does feel it's warm in here. Today I feel like I've only had one sip of bourbon so far.
Sorry, off track. Go ahead.
That's okay.
Do your normal intro.
So no, we are down here live at Youngstown Studio. Joe Danier, Justin Coffin, BJ, Kellen in the back, and we're just gonna have some fun. Today is going to be random thoughts. I will talk a little college football about the new playoff stuff that's going on. It's a 5+7 format for next year. I came up with a list of ways I would change college football, and I want to see what you would think about that in a minute. We'll do some complete random thoughts, and then we'll throw some curveballs back and forth at each other and go from there. So, So I worked out last night. I went to Planet Fitness in Boardman, met a friend up there, and that was the first time I have like a small home gym in my basement. I do cardio and I do like light free weights, but last night was the first time I actually lifted, and did actual decent weights in a long time. And I'm kind of starting to feel it right now.
Okay.
I'm getting a little sore.
All right.
So I need to,
what prompted this?
He actually lives in Houston part-time and here part-time for his job. He's taken a new job in Pittsburgh and is living up in North Lima and Boardman area right now. So he sent me a message and was like, hey, why don't you come on? And he's a pusher. So he's like, I'm like, Monday night, I was like, I can't, whatever. I got stuff going on. He's like, yeah, that's what I figured you'd say and stuff like that. Kind of just like being a little bit of a dick and like, kind of like, oh, you're not coming. I know you're not. So I said, well, I can't Tuesday, but Wednesday I will. So I went last night. And I said, I'm not like an everyday gym guy as people can see. I'm in okay shape, but I'm not like gym, muscle head type guy shape. That's not me. There's a lot of like meatheads out there. Not me. Hey, by the way, Kellen, happy birthday. So there's a lot of just randos out there that are total gym rats, and that's cool. I respect that. That's just not me. I feel like there's a couple versions of people that stay in shape. One, I'm the kind that likes to I want my clothes to fit me right. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
And then there's like a next level of like, I need to be like muscle bound and all that stuff. That's just never been me. I just like to stay in good enough shape where my clothes fit me all right. For the most part, my clothes for the last 20 years have fit me pretty much the same, and so I don't know. What are your thoughts on
I can think of one shirt that is the shirt that I would like to, look nice on me. And I'm in the two modes. Either everything is so baggy, right, and that I hate it, or things just feel too tight on me, right? And I wish it wasn't like the belly. I wish my arms were feeling the tightness.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and as you get older, it's just natural that like your metabolism slows down. You got to work harder, and whether your lifestyle. I always like to say my season of life I'm in right now doesn't allow me to be, to come and go and be as active as I'd like to. I'm active in other ways, but I'm not like super like, oh, I can just drop everything, go to the gym. That's just not my life right now. So, and that's okay.
I've never pursued sort of the aesthetic side. I like to feel good and I like to stay healthy and not ever be sick. And so if I feel like I want to lay down on the couch too often, then I'm like, get up, shithead. Go do something, stay active. So I'm in that sweet spot where if I'm feeling good, I'm not going to make many changes.
And I think what you and I did, because for anybody that's watching or listening, Joe and I, we skipped the podcast on Tuesday. Normally we go Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3:30, but we met over at, is it Color Vanity or Vanity Color? So
Color. That sounds very
She's
European.
Italian. She's Italian. So I figured there was a little bit of a, hey, you know,
there's an enunciator somewhere on those letters.
Yeah. Okay. So, but that place is really cool. And I hope we're going back at least for, a few weeks here, but, the cryo stuff, like all that stuff is beneficial to your health regardless, and a lot of people, like I know Laura Zaffadel, who I've had on, you've had on, she's a friend of mine, but like she is a nutritionist, but she also runs a gym. So it's like, what percentage of gym versus food and healthy eating? And I would say for the most part, healthy eating would take precedent over, like, you want to be active and do stuff, but like going to the gym and that stuff isn't quite as important as eating right. I think,
if you can, and because you're doing it like every day, if you're eating shit food every day, but you're going to the gym twice a week, like you could get way more benefits from just clearing up the food part. You know what I mean? And it might not even make the gym, halfway necessary. So I make a list of all of the things I'm sacrifices I'm making for health. And then I also make a list of the things I'm doing that's detrimental, like smoking cigars and drinking bourbon are probably the worst things that I do.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then I'll eat right and do fasting when I need to and take care of that. I'm like, okay, well, I can weather a lot of this more than most people.
No doubt. So, okay, random health thoughts. Just thought we'd get into that.
One of my favorite topics.
So, and we'll discuss that more especially as we go through more of the cryo stuff, more of the whatever we're doing there.
Have you ever tried to explain to someone why you did cryo? Like, what's the benefit? And I was like, I don't know, because they said to.
Well, it supposedly kickstarts your is it your white blood cells or your red blood cells, and like helps you heal quicker. Someone like LeBron or someone, these big time athletes who can spend a lot of money, spend millions on their own health, and like that kind of stuff, if you're doing it right. I mean, look at him. He's playing in his 21st year in the NBA, and he is still one of the top 10 players in the league at age 39. You look at most 39-year-olds, they wouldn't be able to play in a YMCA court, and get up and down. So that kind of stuff, you obviously have to have the physical freak and ability in you, but that stuff will only help. And, not necessarily to be an athlete, but to be a good healthy lifestyle, so there we are.
I was a lot of weird thoughts were going through my head after we did that, because I was thinking like, okay, the body gets shocked, it goes into these survival responses and kind of snaps to attention. But I was thinking like, you sleep 8 hours a day, right? If you could cryogenically freeze yourself when you're sleeping, would you live like a third longer, because that's 8 hours that your body wouldn't be aging?
No.
Come on.
No, there's no way.
Why would you? Okay, let's suspend your scientific opinion on it. If you could do that, would you, to live 1/3 longer? You're living to 140.
That's like a tough morality question too, because like, if my children, like, would they eventually catch me in age? You know what I'm saying? Would that be weird?
Well, they'd kind of have to do it too, because you wouldn't want that to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of like, and then I would want my close friends and family to be on the same path as me if I could do that. So that's I would just buy a cryogenic chamber then, if that were the case. So
yeah, like the movie Click too. You take those shitty times in life and just cryo yourself.
Fast forward.
Yeah, like cryo yourself when you know that you don't want to experience that stuff anyway. Take the winter off in Ohio, live 4 months times 80 years. That's a lot of time.
That's like the complete opposite version of being a snowbird. You're actually freezing yourself through the winter. You're hibernating, and then you're
living
waking
that
up
much longer.
That's not a terrible idea. if you can prove it works.
Man, that's a lot of testing. I am willing to sacrifice my body for science.
You're going to need several guinea pigs and a couple independent studies on that one, but it's not a terrible idea.
So if we're going to do interstellar travel, did you know that we're landing that equipment on the moon today? By the way, right? 5 o'clock. Watch the NASA's YouTube channel. We're going to the moon next year and the year after that.
We're going to the moon.
Going to the moon. If you believe we were already there the first time. We're going to land some equipment there that we're going to use when people go there.
Okay.
But anyway, so if we're going to do interstellar travel and it takes 125,000 years to get to the next galaxy.
Sure.
You're going to have to freeze yourself, or else you're not going to be able, you're going to have like kids and kids and kids generations, and you have to have 20 generations of kids to make it there, or you just zap yourself in the cryo freezer, freeze yourself for 125,000 years, and then wake up when you get there. Everybody you know would be dead at that point.
That's a very scary thought. And there's a lot of movies that have done that. Like Passengers, I think, is one with Jennifer Lawrence. There's even the freaking original Buzz Lightyear movie, the cartoon, like the prequel to him. Like it's a cartoon, but it shows like he goes to outer space, does this time travel loop, and then like everybody he knows on Earth is dead or like aging as he comes back, and then eventually dies. It's a weird thing. It's a very weird thing. I don't know. The best thing would be able to like we're talking about weird topics. I was not expecting
cryo this, delivered us some topics.
But I mean, like that's a great idea. And is it what Space Odyssey 2001 or a lot of the movies there's these like futuristic ideas that it's like that's great in theory, but can it actually be done? Can we, when they say like the space time, the wormhole or whatever, you take a piece of paper, you fold it in half, you poke the pencil through it. It's like, can we get to this end and this end in, because you can only travel what? A light year's, is it like 286,000 miles a second or something like that?
Sounds about right.
So it's like, can you, like the human body cannot actually physically do that. It doesn't matter if you're cryogenically frozen or not. Like you're going to be dead regardless. Like, so
can I wormhole you some more?
Please.
All right. So we're on the cryo topic. Let's just say tomorrow, God forbid, you get diagnosed with a terminal illness, you're dead meat. But one of the options is they cryo you for a future time where they may have an easy solution for what you are ultimately going to die in very short order.
Yeah.
Cryo yourself, say goodbye to your family, only to be woken up 100 years from now to be now nobody you know is alive, but you are alive. Do you do it?
Maybe. I don't have a firm answer to that. Maybe is the best I can do because, well, first of all, no one wants to suffer. Like no one wants to physically suffer. Life and death is it's a scary thing. And some people come to terms with it. Some people don't. And that's okay. Like everybody to each their own. But it's weird because you are waking up in a universe and an Earth or wherever you are with no recollection of what's going on. Let's just even say it's 100 years from now, they cure cancer or something like that. If you froze yourself and then you wake up in 100 years, like you said, your great grandchildren are probably, living. And then you're maybe the same age as them and like you can tell them stories of the past and all this stuff, but it's like, but everyone you know around you is dead.
Yeah.
So that's a very challenging question to answer.
All right, I got a different more abstract version of that.
Okay.
So we're doing interstellar travel now, and our body can't survive the speed of light or near the speed of light in order to the speed to get there. Biologically, we can't survive it. So they figured out a way to take your consciousness and put it on a flash drive, and then when you get there, your consciousness is then loaded in a biological meat suit body.
Sign me up.
Really?
Yeah. Sign me up.
Why is this one so different?
So this one, I feel like I could, before my brain or whatever goes into complete like meltdown mode and like, God forbid, anyone out there, and I don't want to speak poorly of, or talk down on like dementia or something, because that's serious issues. But let's say you are right of mind in like your peak mental state, and you could upload your consciousness, basically, is what you're talking about, right, into a drive, and then it's inserted into like, so basically you're gonna live forever.
Yep, it's time. I'm sick of this body. Pop it out, put it in a new one, and now you've got a whole new biological
Here's
suit.
A question then. So is there a finite amount of people on Earth then? Or do we keep reproducing? Because there'd be no need to reproduce humans. There'd be no need to have children. There'd be no need to do this. If you have if you have 7 to 8 billion people on Earth, and is it like only a select few? Or is it everybody?
Well, if the technology's there, you could even clone yourself, put yourself in multiple bodies, and then we have a big philosophical question. Now we got two Justins.
There's already too many people on Earth.
Copies of the same consciousness in two different bodies. Which one's Justin for real?
I don't like that.
No. All right. Well, let's remove that one.
I think there should, there should only be one of you.
Okay. So here's the deal. Like, you put a piece of paper on a copy machine and then you copy the copy. Well, every meat suit loses some of your faculties. So the more times you copy and go from meat suit to meat suit, you lose a little bit of the structure of who is. So maybe it is not infinite, that you will not biologically die, but your consciousness will be so eroded that it'll be such a different thing.
Yeah, not a huge fan of that. Like, and is your consciousness, when you transfers I'm just thinking of the topics we're talking about right now, is that when you transfer that, and this sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
When you transfer that from your body to the cloud or whatever, and then you'd be like, I want to, in my next life, I want to have my same cognition, my same, thoughts and all that stuff. But I'm in Brad Pitt's, image now. Like, that's not a bad deal, like, so you can is this like a living organism, or like, can you print it? Can you be killed?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, if you get killed biologically and your consciousness starts to die, then what you would transfer is partially damaged then when it moves. So you got to do it before you age out and you get damage to the consciousness. So if I kill you off in your 30s, you're probably pretty good. But if I start switching bodies in my 60s, you might be losing some stuff. And when it goes over, like, you'll have a lack of loss at that point, but you'll still have some damaged equipment.
I need to think about this. These are really interesting questions.
But like, if you play a video game and they let you pick your avatar and they structure you, your body style, your hair and whatever. So you get to pick exactly what your body's going to look like in the simulation, same way as you get to pick it. Well, now that it's customizable, you kind of remove the beauty aspect, because everybody's literally going to be beautiful. It's not going to be aesthetics where some people are blessed other than, others. So immutable characteristics are no more. You can just change it on the next revision.
Okay. Yeah, which then takes out like the competition of finding the most attractive partner or whatever.
Everybody's attractive.
Everybody's the same. Everybody's
now, in any iteration, knowing that you can change, would you ever pick a meat suit with boobs just so you could have them for one iteration?
No, sorry.
No boobs for you.
No.
All right.
No, I can't do it. It's not the worst idea you've ever had. But
I was just curious. Because you have an infinite amount of meat suits. They probably cost some money.
Yeah.
That's probably a couple.
So we're talking like, for anybody that's ever watched like Westworld, for anybody that's ever watched Black Mirror, there's a couple episodes on that. Twilight Zone probably even has something along those lines.
I love how you asked me the questions like I'm the authority on what's going to happen. Completely hypothetical. You're like, can you do this part? Yes.
Like I just can't give like a yes or no. Like, it's a black and white. Like, I'm the type of person that I need all the details. And then I need to go through it and list my pros and cons and be like, okay, it's yes or it's a no. Because there is something special about life, because it does have an end. So if there's no end, then are things less special? Because, like you only get so many birthdays. Like when your kids are young, they're only that young for so long.
What would be cool though?
Yeah.
Is there are so many different places even on Earth that if one of the rules was you could have a new body, but it would have to be in a different city with all new people. Think about all the cities there are, and like next is France, and then one after that is Italy, and you just have to keep moving cities, and basically you're reborn every time you go through this, where you have to meet all new people, get new employment, start over from scratch. So if you make any decisions, like Groundhog Day, if you F it up, when you're reborn over there, it's all brand new again.
Are there any consequences to your actions?
Really, the only consequence is that you carry with all of the memories from every other iteration that you've had. So you have all the insights.
Okay.
Right? You have all the knowledge, you have all the mistakes that you've made, and you have the memories of the people that were in previous lives.
How about the other people around you?
They're in the same boat as you.
Okay.
Because the technology is open to everyone.
So everyone's going to continue to get smarter and smarter and smarter and smart. Well, most
those
people
who would choose to say yes to my question.
Like you live long enough, you're going to pick up a lot of information.
But so is everybody else.
True. But do you ever hear that thing when you're like a little kid? It's way easier to learn a different language and stuff like that. So if you're telling me I'm born in America, I learn English, whatever, and then I go through Spanish or German or whatever in high school, you kind of learn it a little bit, but you don't really know it. But then you tell me I transfer this consciousness over 35, 40, 50, whatever it might be, to a new body, and I'm learning Italian, but I'm a 30-year-old man and I have to learn Italian, but I only know English. Like that might be tough, or to pick up on a new language.
Can I hit you with one more?
You can hit me with whatever.
Okay, let's reverse some of the rules in this.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to transfer your consciousness, but we're going to put it in an infant, but all of the memories from the previous iterations are going to be removed. So you get to live in a complete other life.
So wait, what am I gaining as an infant?
Just a new body. You're getting a new body to live it through, but you have none of the past experiences from what you just
nothing.
Zero.
No,
when you're born,
no previous knowledge.
No previous knowledge. It's brand new. You're wiped out, reset.
So then, what's the difference between just dying and not knowing? Then
technically, you will go away versus you continuing on, even if you don't remember it.
Okay.
That's a harder one.
I'm gonna say probably not. Then because I don't like, what am I gaining? In that sense, I don't know what I'm gaining.
Maybe that's how it really works. In those past lives,
so that's almost like a reincarnation type.
Yeah,
thing.
Right. That's
now we're getting spiritual.
That's the argument for reincarnation. See, when you drink bourbon and you talk philosophy around a campfire, usually you come up with these. We didn't drink enough to really.
We've had one
less than one.
Less than one.
And we're already on reincarnation.
All right.
So welcome to the 330 Sports Show.
Yeah. Welcome to a show that has sports titled in the name, but we're not.
Hey, you started it. By the way.
No, it is. And we will get to a little bit of sports. I am going to skip one thing I had planned, but you want to talk a little TV for a minute?
Go for it.
Okay.
This is your show.
We're going to put this up on the screen. So I just finished True Detective Night Country. This was a reincarnation of the first 3 seasons that maybe should not have been, done. I loved part of it and I hated a lot of it. It was very visually, aesthetically pleasing. But I was really, 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 really disappointed towards the end of the season. Now, there's some people out there I know that love it. There's some people that hate it. It's whatever. These were my top 5 shows coming into 2024 that I was looking forward to. So House of the Dragon still has high hopes for me. That's coming in I think May or early June. Stranger Things Stranger Things and Welcome to Derry were both pushed to 2025 because of that writer's strike from last year. So unfortunately, those things got bumped. They were originally scheduled for this year. And Curb Your Enthusiasm, if you're a Seinfeld fan and have never watched Curb Your Enthusiasm, one of the greatest shows on TV, one of the funniest shows, I should say, on TV. You got to watch it. It is hilarious.
And you have never steered me wrong on any show you said was awesome. I shared your flavor of entertainment, but I've seen Stranger Things the first couple seasons,
So good.
maybe.
Yeah.
But beyond that, other four, I've never
So,
seen.
True Detective, the very first season of it is by far the best. It is great, and each season you can watch independently. They don't really go together. They're kind of just independent. It goes over like cops or detectives and their stories, so that's really good. I like the horror genre. That's why I put it's like the It origin story behind that. Curb Your Enthusiasm is just funny. It's hilarious. It's Larry David who created Seinfeld. And then this is the 12th season of this, but it gets funnier and funnier every single freaking year. Stranger Things is just awesome, especially if you grew up in the 80s and 90s, like I did. And it's just so good. It's got the sci-fi aspect, and like those kids, though, it's the only weird thing. I think it came out in like 2015 or something. So those kids are now like 8 years older. They're like grown ass adults. And we talked about Millie Bobby Brown and how like she turned from like a little kid into like a grown ass woman. And it's like you still got to make them look like little kids a little bit. And then True Detective, as I said, a little disappointing. But I will say she's beautiful. And she's probably, I don't know, 20, 21 years old now. So it is what it is. But now, what I will say is I, over the last couple weeks, caught up on the show called The Bear. Have you ever seen The Bear?
I've not.
Oh, my God. It is awesome. So it's based in Chicago. It's very Youngstown-like. So any Youngstown people that are in the restaurant industry would love this show. It is just so good. It takes you through kind of the kitchen dynamics, restaurant industry dynamics, but it also like has great character building as Joe's scrolling through Millie Bobby Brown pics. But so good. Highly recommended. It's 2 seasons. You can easily catch up on it, and so great. So highly recommend The Bear. And now we have Blake Lively on the screen, who we spent a little bit of time on last week. So Blake, or is it Balake? Balake. But yeah, no complaints there. So, but highly recommend, Joe. You got to go watch The Bear. Got to watch it. So when it airs live, it's on FX, which most people that have cable or DirecTV or whatever have. If you don't have it, you can go sign up, do a free trial on Hulu, and you can crank through like both seasons in probably 3 days. I would say there's like 30 to 40-minute episodes, but it is so good. There's an episode in the second season. There are 2 episodes in the second season. One is called Forks, which sounds weird, but it is the best episode of television, maybe in the top 5 I've ever seen. Like just this one 30-minute episode of TV is unbelievable. It like will not change your life, but it will, like, if you watch those couple episodes up to it, it is like you get all the feels in it. It is amazing shit. So
got a question for you.
That. Yes.
Because I think about this a lot, about series that take things too far and series that don't go far enough.
Mm-hmm.
So give me your series that really went way too long and destroyed the story because they just tried to make it carry too long.
Okay.
And one who left you waiting and signed off before you were truly satisfied.
Oh man, those are tough. So I'm gonna skirt around this question, but Game of Thrones was probably my favorite show of all time. And now House of the Dragon, love that. That's a prequel. But Game of Thrones went 7 seasons. Actually, should have made it 8. The last season, I think, was like 6 episodes. They had a lot more story to tell, and I felt like they condensed it so much that they could have made the story so much better.
Weren't they following the books though?
They are, and that's the thing too, because they kind of guessed like the last couple seasons, because that George R.R. Martin that wrote the books, he didn't finish. I think there's 2 more books, and he's like finishing. One's called like Wins a Winner, and there's another one I think called something Spring. That he hasn't even started yet. But the co-directors, I think they were brothers, like got a lot of crap for it because they like rushed the ending. And like people, there are like, when I say people love this show, I mean there are people that would like take a bullet for this show, literally. And it was so freaking good, but the ending left something to be desired. And it was because I think they didn't know how it was supposed to end, so they kind of made up their own ending. And I think it would be kind of cool in the future if they were able to do kind of like a reboot, but also like maybe do that last 2 seasons over. But that show, like, there, for anybody out there that's watched Game of Thrones, the Red Wedding, there's one called Hard Home, that's a 1 episode. There's a just Battle of Bastards, there's 1 episode. There are like 10 episodes out of like 65, 70 that are like mind-blowing and so freaking good. And it's like movie-esque in 1 episode of TV, and the production value is like off the charts. And I'm not like a super like sci-fi or fantasy type guy, but this show is amazing. Yes, there are dragons, there's a little bit of like magic, but most of it's like storytelling, character building, and just so freaking good. So.
And some of their hot girls are very hot girls.
Oh, Daenerys Targaryen will,
and dragons.
Oh, I mean,
you cannot go wrong with the mother of dragons.
No, she is phenomenal. So.
All right, what about the opposite, where series went too far?
Series went too far. Will you give me a little bit more on that? So just the scotch. Just the scotch. So a series that went too far. Oh man, this is tough. I really need to think about this one. Can I revisit this one in a little bit?
Sure.
I don't feel like I can give a true great answer on this one, but
I'll give you mine.
Yeah, please.
The ones that went too far, number 1, The Walking Dead, and it's a tie with 24.
Okay.
Like,
I have never seen either of those shows.
The storyline became repetitive, where it was only there's only so many scenarios that can present itself, and they overplayed those. So there was always like the villainous group that did always the same thing. They were super evil and they conquered him in the exact same way. Same thing with 24. Like, okay, you have a terrorist response and you go rogue and whatever. I didn't even bother watching like the final episodes of the series. I got so bought out of the repetition.
Okay.
I think the creativity starts to wane because it is hard to write a good storyline anyway, but you put 25 seasons together with 16 episodes a season.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna repeat.
Yeah. I thought of mine while you were talking.
I was hoping that would happen.
Billions.
Yes. I agree.
Billions.
Agreed.
It was good until it wasn't.
Yep.
And yeah, Billions. Showtime. Very good. And then,
well, your favorite characters get into that mode. Like, Bobby was like,
he wasn't even in the 1 season.
Right.
So yeah, Billions. Yeah. And the plot of it's great, but
did you get into Succession?
Oh, I love Succession.
They did it right.
That's in the top in 4 seasons.
Yep.
In the top, that's in my top 5. So Game of Thrones, regardless of the ending, still in my top 5. Breaking Bad is up there.
They knew when to end it,
and
it was perfectly
ended. They didn't even. They had some plot points in there. They didn't even know how they were going to finish it. They just threw it in there, and they're like, "Fuck it, we'll figure it out." And I love that.
Yep.
The Better Call Saul, which is one of the greatest shows too that ever came out. But I would put Breaking Bad up there, Game of Thrones, Succession. I got a whole host of shows that I love.
Now, if you were to take Game of Thrones and pick a character out that you think that it could start a whole series around without any of the other characters, who do you think the best survivable character is?
Arya.
Okay.
Arya. Yeah. She's a badass. She was like this little kid when the show started, and it was almost kind of like Stranger Things-esque, where she was a little kid when it started. She was like a teenager to maybe like an 18-year-old when the show ended. And then, but like she gets, spoiler alert if you've never seen it, but she's like, I want to know what's in the big continent in the show, and you got to keep in mind this is kind of like our equivalent to like medieval times or whatever. She's like, I want to know what's west of Westeros, and that's the big continent. So she goes west on like a discoverable journey. So I think she would be the number one character I'd want to follow. So
okay,
and she's just cool.
I'm telling you, Game of Thrones is not afraid to kill a character off.
Oh, hell no. If you watch season 1, episode 9, you do not expect that to come if you are not a book
You're
reader.
Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So yeah, when without saying it, when that main character gets killed off in season 1, you will be shocked. So
my favorite characters always die. They always do.
Did you watch that show?
Yeah.
What was your favorite character on that show?
What's the name of the dude that got his head chopped off in like the first episode?
That's in episode 9.
Okay.
We're talking about Ned.
Yeah.
Ned Stark.
Yeah. He was my favorite.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Don't listen if you or unlisten.
All right. Are we good to move on?
Oh, I'm good. This is your show.
No, we're moving on. I want to give a quick shout out, and she will probably never see this, but I took my daughter, who's 5, to her first Youngstown State women's basketball game this past Saturday. I tried to get to a bunch, but timing and whatever didn't work out. But she caught like a ball from the cheerleaders. She caught like a frisbee. We're friends with the cheerleading coach at YSU, so she gave her a cookie, and she's got all this stuff. And like it was just me and her. And then I had her and I. Sorry, thank you. So I have my phone, my wallet, my keys. Right, phone, wallet, keys. I always do that. Did you ever do that? Phone, wallet, keys.
Yes.
There's actually a great Adam Sandler song about that, but. I in the midst of collecting things, I think I dropped my phone. So I think I dropped my phone. I don't know. So it's freezing cold outside. We end up getting back to the car, which was probably like a quarter-mile walk. Get back there, and I'm like, my phone always connects to my car. So I knew, oh shit, I forgot my phone. So I get back there and I'm like, what do I do? It's got to be in there. So we go back in and we like retrace our steps. And I want to give a shout out to this young lady, Abby Davidson. Her brother was on our show, Mitch, earlier in the season. He is the quarterback, or was the quarterback at Youngstown State. But this young lady, she is phenomenal. She's a great athlete. She's a fantastic human being. Called my mother on my phone. So I don't know how she did it. What I think she did is press the Siri button and said, call mom. So she calls my mom and lets my mom know. Now, I didn't know this because I didn't have a phone, but I walk back and she's like, hey, like as she sees me like looking with my daughter, like finding my phone. And she's like, did you lose your phone? And I'm like, yes. So I would just want to give a shout out to her because somehow she found it. I think maybe her mom and maybe one of her brothers was down there with her. And like they might have just found it on the ground, and I would be lost without this thing. So shout out to Abby
I honestly
Davidson.
want to hear it from her side. You should totally book her to tell.
We'll have her on the show eventually. Yeah.
The story of the lost phone.
Yeah. And I mean, to her, it's like, I found a freaking phone on the ground. I gave it to this guy.
Do you have your mom in your phone as mom?
I do.
Or Jenny?
Mom. Yeah. Just because, I don't know. I think I have like 2 other Jennies in there. So, I don't call my mom Jenny. I call her mom, so.
When are you allowed to start using first names? At what age?
Well, with my, with my kids, we say Grandma Jenny. So I call her Grandma Jenny, but.
You're never allowed to kill the moniker, like the.
Well, you could
like
everybody
if I saw my aunt.
I don't think there's a rule, Joe.
Well, I need to know what the decorum is here. Like, if my aunt is named Cynthia, do I have to say Aunt Cynthia once I get to be 40? Or are you Cynthia now?
You could be whatever age you want, and call them whatever you want. So I don't know.
I feel kind of dirty when I same thing with teachers. Like when I see a teacher's like Miss Smith versus I know her name's Betty. Can I call her Betty now that I'm graduated? I think it depends
on your relationship with that person. If you're like on a friendly basis and you're close with them, I think that's one thing. But if you're not necessarily, then like I still have students come up and call me Mr. Coffin. Okay. And but like I also have students my very first year of teaching. You know, and then I ended up coaching some of those kids and stuff. And they just call me either Coffin, they call me, you know, Justin, whatever it might be. But those kids are now like, you know, 26, 27. They were the same age as I was when I was teaching them now, you know? So it's like a different dynamic.
Right.
And then it's like, whatever, it's all the same. Like once you're a certain age, you know, it'd be weird if like a 12-year-old was like, hey, Justin, you know, but if they're a 25, 26-year-old, hey, you know, then it's like, hey, Mr. Coffin, and be like, no, it's Justin now, you know? So like, whatever.
I just need to know what the rules are.
They're like, okay, so your wife's a teacher.
Yeah.
So if you'll have to ask her this. So like, I don't know if you know the answer, but if she sees a former student out, because she taught kindergarten for a long time. So that takes a long time to get out of grade school and stuff. So like, let's just say 15 years later, she sees a student. Are they going to call her Mrs. Danier or are they going to call her Debbie?
Well, and they were students of her before we were married, so she's Miss Danier. So they still call her Miss Danier.
Okay. Yeah, and that makes sense.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So put a stamp on that one.
That's it.
All right, moving on.
The world's problems today, and we have great women in a crunch.
Yes.
In a pinch.
Yes. Thank you, Abby. All right.
Abby's great.
So Natalie, what'd she say? What about shows that are perfect just the way they are? For me, The Good Place. Oh, 6 Feet Under. That would be one of the top shows of all time.
Well, The Good Place was perfectly done, and they ended it perfectly. You know, like some shows, like we really like them. Like you said, I like cherry pie. So they like just jam cherry pie down your throat forever.
Service.
Right.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Instead of letting the storyline end when it's supposed to and let you want more. It's okay to leave a series wanting a little bit more and not overdoing it.
It's good to have a little bit of mystery and there are some unknown questions. Not the big ones necessarily. And some shows are about that mystery, but it's not necessarily the root of the show. So my favorite, and Natalie, 6 Feet Under is unbelievable. Have you ever seen that show?
I've not.
So every show starts with a death, and it's a show that follows a family. Dexter's in it, the guy that plays Dexter. There's a lot of big time characters in that show, but that show follows a family that owns a funeral home and how it operates and stuff. But it's an HBO show, so you know it's well done, but it is so freaking good. So
a contentious show. Either you absolutely love this show or you despise it. This is the most polarizing show there is Lost.
I have never seen it, and I'm a little disappointed in that because there's a couple shows I love that are similar to Lost that I have heard of. The Leftovers, which is one of the best shows I've ever seen, and Yellow Jackets. So those are two really good shows. Yellow Jackets has a lot left to be desired, so we'll see on that. But The Leftovers, have you ever seen that one? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've never seen Lost. You've never seen Leftovers. Maybe you should we'll have to
share some misery and go through. So I'm on the end of I hated Lost. I invested all the seasons worth of watching every episode, and I was very, very disappointed by the end of it.
Okay, all right, so I will have to look into Lost a little bit because I've never seen
While
it.
You're watching it, you are going to thoroughly enjoy it because it is a well-written show.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can always tell in the show when new writers took over and they kind of ran out of ideas because it would just get weird and there would be a logical sense. And you're like, fuck it, go with it.
And that's one of those shows that was on like ABC. It wasn't on like HBO or so they couldn't throw in like the violence necessarily or the sex or the language. But
there are elements of it that you thought were going to be important and they like made an appearance and then they like faded out and you're like, what just happened?
So all I know about Lost is that there's a plane crash, right? And they end up on an island.
Yeah.
And then there's like a bunch of weird shit. So I heard even in this podcast I listened to, they were mentioning polar bears and stuff
bear.
So I don't know anything about
monster.
It. Oh boy.
And there was one more that like you thought was going to be super relevant, a part of the story, and just kind of like evaporated.
Okay.
Like the smoke monster.
Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. Well, I can once I watch it, I'll give some knowledgeable thoughts on that, but I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. So, with that said, 45 minutes into the show.
Let's talk about the sports.
I'm going to talk about one college football thing.
Okay.
I'll talk about how I would fix college football in the future.
Well, do you want to read that message up there? Because Dave has some insight.
So Dave Gillen says, no matter what you do, colleges have been paying players through some form of job-related or other means. NIL has made it even with other colleges that have been doing it. Put a cap on NIL is just for saying they are paying players anymore, but it's not the end of the money. Agreed. I agree with that. Yeah, there's always been that dirty money out there. Now they're doing it a little bit better, but it's still not regulated, and that is the number one way they have to fix that. That's like, I think the NIL thing was number 2 or number 3 on my list, which what the hell? I'll show that right now. Here's my list of how I would fix college football. Okay. Number 1, way less commercials. The NFL does it perfectly. NFL is about a 3-hour game, 3:15 at most. College football is about 4 hours because it goes kickoff, commercial, offensive series, commercial, and it's like there's too many commercials. So killing the commercials or figuring out a way to add commercials while it's still showing the actual field and not adding more time to the game. Everyone loves football, but at some point it's like, this is too much,
Well, in the future, like the next generation attention spans are even more limited. Yeah. So they're going to have to figure out ways of get it to fit in a 2-hour triangle and then a 1 hour. And they're going to be at a point.
I think 3 hours is the sweet spot. I really think that is the sweet spot, because if you can, if you're there's enough going on to keep your attention. Maybe what they need to do is boost like the Wi-Fi signal there, so people can be interactive somehow, or maybe like, betting or gambling becomes a thing there, which that's a whole other, issue. But
what if they figured out a way to add more time to the regulation clock and make it not stop as often?
College football did get rid of that. Like if on a first down, the clock stops, that really didn't, like, I mean, it might be a possession or two, but it's not like it didn't affect like the time of the games super a lot. So I would have to look into that a little bit more. But in my opinion, college football, just limit the amount of commercials. Like the NFL, whatever they're doing it right. And college football needs to find that model. Just in my opinion, like you said, the attention spans of people are different, but football is it's not quite basketball with the fast-paced aspect of it. And it's not baseball where it's boring. You can read a book while you're watching it as well. But college football needs to get more on the NFL level in the sense of pace of play and not just limiting the amount of commercials.
Now, the NASCAR model where they keep the race going, but they show the commercial like in a split screen.
Not a terrible idea.
Would you pay attention to the commercial?
Not a terrible.
Effective.
To me, I don't really, you watch the commercials, but do you really watch them? I'm usually on my phone or whatever in between. But I don't know if it's an Ohio State game or a game or, a YSU game or whatever game I'm super into that time. I am focused 100% on the game. And if a commercial like takes up, they don't have to split the whole screen. They can put it in a little window. But I think when they do, like when they're huddling up or something, you can fit a 20-second commercial in that span and still make your revenue and add money then. But do we need a touchdown, then your extra point, then a commercial, then to come back, do a kickoff, and then another commercial? No. I think you wipe that out, put your commercial on when the offense is coming on the field, the special teams is coming off the field, stuff like that. That's when you can do those little transitions. And hopefully people buy into that, because to me, there's too many commercials. And I get that's where they make their money. There's billions of dollars over the course of seasons in college football, and it's a moneymaker, and money drives all. So I get that, but they need to figure out a way. The NFL is like the king of all sports. So they need to figure out a way to college football to get it on the NFL's level.
So the next generation specifically seeks out venues that have zero commercials. They would rather pay for to watch the game than to suffer any commercials. So if it's basically $3 a quarter, right? Okay. They would pay $12 for a game.
I think you're right.
Zero commercials whatsoever.
I think you're right. Not everybody financially, like, and I'm not saying $12 is a lot of money, but $12 for certain people might be a lot of money where they might not be able to afford that, and maybe they have to watch the commercial version. But like, there still needs to be those transition times where there are little breaks in the game, timeouts or whatever. Yeah, fillers.
Yep.
But there doesn't need to be 4 minutes of filler. Maybe limit it to 2, cut it in half, or find those other 2 minutes where you can put those little split screens or whatever it might be. So my opinion, I don't think I'm in the minority on that, though. I think the vast majority of people think college football is too long. So do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, like I said, I think the NFL has the perfect model. They probably still have too many commercials, but I don't feel like you're waiting around as ridiculously as long of a time on like the next series or
every sport keeps escalating in the cost and how much nut they have in producing one game, and with so much of that cost you have to sell so many commercials, and then it becomes a majority commercials and like half of it's actual football. If you can make the costs lower, I don't know how you get the costs out of games though. When NBC pays $4 billion for NFL coverage, like I don't know how you get that back without adding 50% more commercials every season.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I think they're all smart enough to figure out, like, I don't know. And there's probably something to be said where there's like a peak, and like it's going to eventually plateau, where it's like there's only, most, I don't even want to say most, but there's so many people, like everyone you and I know watches at least a couple games a year, but we are generally like, we like the Browns, and we like football and all that stuff. Not everyone loves football the same amount. So they still have to drive that revenue, but I don't know what the answer is.
So last season, Peacock and Prime gatekeeped a couple of games where you had to have a subscription in order to watch. So if in the future you had to subscribe to an NFL channel or whatever and get no commercial, would you do it? How much would you pay?
Yeah, that's a good question on how much. Like if the Browns are playing, if the Buckeyes are playing, I'm probably paying it, or I'm going to find a way where I'm going to know I'm going to watch it. Maybe if you're watching at your house, maybe I throw you $10 and, whatever, or $5, whatever it is. If it's pay-per-view, like, which maybe we'll eventually get to, but I think with all the subscriptions, there's Prime, there's YouTube TV, there's Red Zone package, there's, all this other stuff. You're paying kind of individually for those different subscriptions. So everyone's getting their money. It's just a matter of how much money do they need. So I don't know. Do you think that's the way of the future?
I do.
You think pay-per-view?
I really think people are going to be purchasing ad hoc from the buffet menu, only paying for what you view, not subscriptions to all of this stuff. Because I think we're paying less and less attention to one specific channel. Like nobody goes home and watches 20, WFMJ or whatever all night long.
No,
right?
No.
You go get the content that you want and you're out.
And most TV now is not like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like sit and watch TV. Most of it's 100%. Like on demand.
Yeah. 100%.
Like I even know on like the people that watch this podcast, like most people aren't watching right now when we're doing it live. Like I know some friends that watch it, or some family that watches it at 7:30 because that's most convenient for them. And it's the same thing with YouTube. YouTube has become the wave of like, that's where your most viewers come from.
All the consumers that are 30 years and younger consume content that way.
And it's like, so the only on-demand things right now, like live TV, you used to say, if you want to watch Seinfeld, you used to have to watch it at 9:00 on a Thursday night, or else you're out of luck till a rerun. But now you can pretty much watch anything except a live sporting event or maybe live news coverage.
The only reason is the spoilers. People that you know on social media will ruin the score for you. If they never did that, and I just got home at 7:00 on Sunday night and started playing the Browns game and could skip commercials. And I didn't know how it ended, I could watch it as if it were live.
Yeah. Fact.
You assholes ruined it for me.
So maybe what we need to say, if you're going to watch it later, don't go on social media.
Blackout.
Like that's what you got to do. So yeah, fair enough. But you can't also be at like a soccer game where someone's, on there saying, oh yeah, the Browns scored or the Buckeyes scored or whatever it might be.
They just ruin it for you.
They're going to ruin it for you. So
totally.
All right, real quick, let me run through this list of the rest of the ways.
This is my favorite show ever.
So we need to fix NIL, and we are Petrie, excuse me. Call Joe back. We need to have you back down here.
Yes.
I'm gonna call Ty. I'm gonna call Ty as soon as I leave here.
Let me see. He responded.
Okay. But Ty is one of the Youngstown Collective people. But the NIL, way Youngstown State does it is perfect. And I think the way the Penguin Collective designed it is the way it was supposed to be. It's like, get a little cash in these guys' pockets. It's not to buy like Maseratis and live in mansions and, all this other stuff. I think it's designed to hey, let's give these guys and girls a better lifestyle. They're making money for the college. Let's put a little bit of money back in their pockets, right?
Because they are the end product. And it's not fair that the college makes all the money and they make none.
Right. So with them, share some revenue, get that back to them. So fix the NIL mess. It needs regulation. People like Livy Dunn, God bless her. She is unbelievable. She's gorgeous. She's fun to look at. And she's a very talented gymnast. Not Blake Lively, Livy Dunn. But yeah. So yeah. Okay. So if you don't know who Livy Dunn is, just look her up. But she is a fantastic gymnast for Louisiana State, and she is one of the highest paid NIL stars, and God bless her, she should be, because she can do what she does. But it shouldn't also be like Livy Dunn makes $4 million and someone to her skill level gets nothing. But if you watch a couple of her videos, you'll probably see why she gets paid what she gets paid. She is a fantastic athlete, but also a beautiful human being. And, that's what sells. So I get it. Also, the transfer portal, let's fix that. You should get a one-time free transfer. Maybe the school you committed to wasn't the school you wanted. You should be able to transfer out one-time free. If your coach or position coach or coordinator leaves, you should be able to leave that school unencumbered there. So you should have, that's like a little bit of a, asterisk on the one-time transfer. Teams cannot play 3 times in a season is my next one. Next year, there's a very good chance a team like Alabama and Georgia could play 3 times, once in the regular season, once in the SEC championship game, once in the college football playoffs. Same thing with Ohio State and Oregon. Ohio State travels to Oregon this year. They could very well play in the Big Ten title game. They could very well play in the college football playoff. Ohio State, Michigan, same thing. Revenue sharing in bowl games to encourage players not to opt out. That is my next one. Joe, I'm putting that up on the screen. We're not putting Joe's just looking at pictures of Livy Dunn, which I don't blame him either. So revenue sharing in bowl games. Fix the calendar. I know a lot of college football. I would love to have a college football coach on and talk about the calendar, the recruiting schedule, all that stuff, and figure that out. And then we're going to bring back this topic on like a normal show, and keep traditional rivalries. Pitt, West Virginia, obviously Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon State, all like hundreds of them, well, dozens of them throughout college football. So those are my 7 that I came up with. I think I got enough of them, but way less commercials, number 1 for me. And then we figure it out from there.
I noticed you didn't pause at all to let me throw anything at you, because this would be a 4-hour episode if that were the
we
case.
could. I feel like I probably got to get home in a little bit, but I could go for hours today. I feel like, and just BS about everything.
But you threw a Livy Dunn over into the side, and that kept me occupied while you got through that list.
I threw Livy Dunn's name out. You went and searched her. So
you did it on purpose, though. Like you knew.
I did. She will distract you, and she is worth every NIL dollar she probably makes. So yeah. So go watch some LSU gymnastics, and you'll understand.
The competition is fierce.
Fierce. No, they are really good. They are really good. No,
Can I ask you about something?
Yeah.
Summer games. Are you bought into Olympics at all? Like, are you an Olympics fan?
I will watch it, and I will be in. We had Katie Moon on a few weeks ago. She is one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet, and she is the reigning gold medalist in pole vault for the United States. She's from Cleveland, so I will watch her when she's on. I will watch basketball. I will watch some of the rando sports, but I'm not like I need to see this and this and this, or like I need to see swimming, or like I will watch that stuff, but track and field's another one. It's like, it's cool, and if I see it, awesome. If I don't, I'm not gonna like be upset about it. So how about you?
8-hour time differential. I love watching live stuff, but it's one of those.
How far Paris is from us?
I think
8 hours.
8 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like things that have already happened, and they like delay it so you can watch it as if it were live.
I hate that.
So like when we were in Salt Lake, or we were in United States, like
it's in LA in 2028.
All right, I'm in.
Okay.
But that time differential ruins it, because I know I can look up what happens, and I do that instead.
I 100% agree. It's very frustrating, because it's like what happens half the time on your phone, and then and then we're there. So I had a bunch of shit planned. We're gonna save some of it. So Joe, the last thing I want to ask you about,
it's 10:33 p.m. in Paris.
So there's 6 hours ahead.
Yeah,
6 hours ahead. Okay. All right. Last thing I want to talk to you about. I had like 10 other things that we're not gonna get to, because we're putting Blake Lively and Livy Dunn on the screen. But the eclipse.
Yes.
So the eclipse is coming. We're less than 50 days away.
Right.
The eclipse is one of those, like, this is a full, it's a solar eclipse.
100%
so the
solar.
Moon the moon completely blocks out the sun.
Yep.
So this is like one of those few, this is like once in a lifetime, really. And we are just south of the direct path. So if you drive from Youngstown, maybe 30 miles north, Cortland, you go up to Akron, you go up to Cleveland, you are going to be in the direct path of this solar eclipse. And like, it's going to last for like 4 minutes if you're in the direct path, which is unbelievable. So we need to get a few people scheduled. We need to talk to either Andrew or Eric from WFMJ and talk about the eclipse. I know there's some teachers that I know that are on like the solar eclipse committee that we're going to get on our show and talk about that. But is this something like that you're really looking forward to, or could you care less about it?
We are driving the motorhome to a place where it's going to be 100%. And I don't know what you're talking about. 4 minutes is a really long time. I am committed to the 4 minutes as being equally as pleasurable as 20 minutes or an hour. 4 minutes is good enough.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No idea. 4 minutes is good.
4 minutes is a long time in most circles. That's a long ass time.
But yes, we are going to see the solar eclipse. We're driving just south of Cleveland, between Cleveland and Toledo.
Okay.
We got a state park specked out.
You can go see the birthplace of your guy over there.
Yeah.
What's his name? Edison.
Yeah.
That's in, I forget the town name, but it's over there. So yeah that is, it's like by Sandusky area.
Yeah.
Kind of in that.
Ladies, 4 minutes is good.
That's plenty of time.
4 minutes of awesome.
I mean, I'm happy with the 2:30.
Wait, what?
All right. We're
2:30's on
moving on. So, but anyways, the Guardians home opener will be that day, and they're going to start the game, I believe, right after that solar eclipse. So the home opener, so what is that? April 8th will take place during that full solar eclipse, which is
schools
really
are
cool.
Closing for
Most
the eclipse.
schools are, yeah. We'll have to find out if there's a source out there where we can get all our school closings.
Oh no,
because the news just doesn't do it well enough.
The scrolling of schools closed by solar eclipse.
Oh man,
just an untapped market.
Please clip that and send that in our little chat group there.
4 minutes is good. I want you guys to.
4 minutes is great. So
achievement.
All right, I have 100 other things to talk about. We're closing up shop right now.
Sorry, Justin.
So no,
I need to apologize.
We spent a long time on things I didn't think we were going to talk about, but they were fun.
63 minutes on Blake Lively. I can't believe it. Blake Lively
and Livy Dunn. Yeah. And Arya Stark, and who else? A few others. So yeah. Anyways, okay. For Joe. I'm Justin. Next week we'll get back to you and we'll talk all that stuff. So everybody enjoy your weekend and we will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Thank you for your support.